Hi, this is Miss Roton again, and today we're going to be talking about the Real Princess packet. Now, this is the original Hans Christian Andersen version of this story, and the original title is The Real Princess. But you probably already know this story because these days we call this The Princess and the Pea. And I guarantee you have heard some version of The Princess and the Pea before. Before I read it to you, I want to talk a little bit about our vocabulary for this story. So we've got torrents. Torrents are like rushing rivers of water, like rapids or pouring down rain. Bedclothes. It's a compound word made of bed and clothes. And these are, like, think about like making your bed as getting your bed dressed, and you'll know what bedclothes are. Those are the things you put on your bed when you make your bed, like sheets and pillowcases and blankets. The word switch, you probably know, like, the word switch when you use it like a Nintendo Switch. I'm sure at least one person is saying that to me right now. Also, like to switch sides or to switch, like to trade. But today you're talking about it as a long, thin branch. Overjoyed, that's another compound word made of over and joyed. Like if you could think of your heart like a cup and you fill it so much with joy that it pours over, that's what overjoyed means. Broad, in this sense, is really wide. And tardy means late, like coming late. So I did a Pictionary picture for you. Which one of these words is in my picture? Did you guess switch? This is my little switch. And then I did another one. See? This one is bedclothes. So you can draw some Pictionary pictures for some of these other words and have your parents guess what they are. And later in your packet, you'll see a whole list of those vocabulary words. So remember, just like in school, I want you looking for those vocabulary words as we're reading, okay? So I'm gonna start now. Follow along with me while I read. A long time ago, there was a prince who wanted to marry a princess, but she had to be a real princess. He traveled all over the world looking for one. There were many princesses, but there was always something about them that was not quite right. At last, the prince had to give up, and he returned to his castle. He was sad because he wanted a real princess very much. One night, there was a terrible storm. The lightning flashed, the thunder roared, and the rain came down in torrents. It was a fearful night. Suddenly, a knock was heard on the castle gate. The old king himself went down to see who it was. There, standing outside in the rain, stood a princess. She didn't look like a princess because her hair and clothes were soaking wet, and water was streaming out of her shoes. "I am a princess," she said. "May I find shelter here tonight?" The king kindly invited her in, and then he went to tell the queen. "We will soon see if she's a real princess," said the queen to herself. She went into a room to get a bed ready for the princess. We've turned our page now. She took all the bedclothes off the bed and laid a pea on the bedstead. Then she took 20 mattresses and put them on top of the pea. Then, on top of the mattresses, she piled 20 feather beds. The princess was to sleep on top of all these mattresses and feather beds. The next morning, the queen asked if she had slept well. "It was terrible," said the princess. "I hardly closed my eyes the whole night. Heaven knows what was in the bed. I was laying on something so hard that I'm black and blue all over." When the queen heard this, she knew the girl was a real princess, for only a real princess could feel a pea through 20 mattresses and 20 feather beds. The prince was overjoyed to find a real princess. He took her for his wife the very next day, and the pea was put into a museum for everyone to see. So, what I would like you to do is read this story again silently to yourself, and then there are some questions at the end that you can talk about with your parents, okay? So, and then see here on the next page, you'll see the rest of the vocabulary. So these were the words I was talking about. You're trying to fill in the blank using each word. And you can use those to play vocabulary Pictionary with your parents or your brothers and sisters. And here's some questions about the story. You can use text evidence and go back and look in the story if you don't know the answer. That would be a great plan. And then here is another different version of The Princess and the Pea that you can read and color the pictures, and you can compare and contrast how they are alike and how they are different. And then on the very back page, you'll see some questions about that story. So this should be very self-explanatory. I am also going to link some videos for other versions of The Princess and the Pea that you might enjoy while you're learning about this week. I hope you enjoy the story.